Hello, welcome back to the Games Kingdom. My name's Carl King, and today we're going to be taking a quick unboxing and a look at a new game that I've purchased via Zato Games in the UK, and it's called Inferno, and it's by Fernando Eduardo Sanchez, and Red Mojo Games is the publisher. So this is the retail version. There were 3 different versions that were done at a sort of GameFound campaign crowdfunding, and they're currently being sort of in the final throes of delivery to backers as we speak. Some people have had it a few weeks now, and game play reviews and things are going up online. Some of those are out on things like Facebook, and there's some bits and pieces also up on Board Game Geek. So this is going to go up on my channel. I'll try and put it up onto Board Game Geek as well, and then sort of spread it around the usual Facebook pages that I post this on if anybody wants to have a look. But as I say, this is the retail version of Inferno. So that's what the game will look like when it's out on the table. So it's quite a sizable board. You've got quite a few sort of wooden meeples and things to manipulate from the first level down to the 9th level of hell. You gain points and things as you do that, because as you move the souls through hell, depending on what action space you land on when you move that soul into a lower level, and you can skip levels if you can jump over people, a bit like playing drafts. You can skip those people. They aren't removed, but you can skip down several levels at once if you take a path that will take you, as I say, over stroke through other souls in one of the levels. And then what symbol you land on the space, and the space colour has to match the colour of the soul that you're moving. You then have the choice of 2 actions in Florence. So you've got a sort of a city area where you're going to do one of 2 things, depending on where you've moved in the lower levels of hell with the souls. You've got your score track round the outside. You've got some diploma tracks down the bottom where you move your skull tokens. When you're doing certain actions, you'll be able to move on these tracks, and then at the end, depending on where the final sort of pieces are, you'll get multipliers based on where your skull is on that track, times by the number that the actual sort of marker piece has landed on during the game. And everybody can affect all of these tracks, so everybody can be on the same track. They can get to the end of the track, and you'll put a disc out there. You also have to put a disc out in the middle of the levels of hell, and unless you do that, you can't move any souls from one level through down to the almost down to the lower levels. And Dante himself is the round marker, and basically every time you do a certain action, he will move down the track that he's on. It will also give you benefits, but once he gets to the bottom of the hell track, he then signals the last turn stroke end of the game. So you'll all have your own individual boards, which we'll have a look at, where you've got your own house. You build towers on those boards. You will also be going to the market, and you'll only score certain cards and things that you may gather throughout the game. If you've got the pieces from the market, they stay on your board, and as long as you've got those colours, if you've got those colours shown at the bottom of any cards that you've managed to collect throughout the game, then you will score those cards as well as part of the end game scoring. So all of this I've gathered just by watching somebody else's sort of quick demo of how the game plays, which is very good, and as I say, that's up on BGG and other sites currently. But what we'll do here, we'll have a quick look at this retail copy. What I also managed to bag at the same time is the miniatures box set, because in here you just get standees for the sort of monsters that will patrol the levels of hell. So in every game there's 2 monsters, so we'll have a look at what they are. in a bit. You can also buy a double-sided neoprene mat, because the game is a double-sided board, so the game is playable with up to 4 players, so it's a solo and up to 4, so you'll choose which side of the board that you're going to play on depending on your player count, and you'll sort of crack on from there. We won't touch too much on many more of the rules. I'll give you a flick through of the rule book, but we won't go into too much of what else the rules cover. Again, all of this sort of information you can download. All the rules are freely downloadable online, and then you can see whether or not you wish to purchase a copy yourself. And at the minute, as far as I'm aware, the only place who is doing this retail is Zartu. So if you want a copy of this, I think they've still got a few as we are here today, the 27th of the 26th of October and 2024. So yeah, if you want to check that out on their site, I think it's about sort of £49 for this retail copy. You do get quite a bit in there. There's not any sort of specialist storage solution other than some bags. There is a little bit of a storage solution in here for the miniatures, which I'm hoping is going to sit in here as well, but we'll have to see how that equates to putting these into the main box and getting everything else in before you put the boards and the rule books in. So let's have a quick look through. So here we are with the rule book, so we'll just put that to one side for a mo, and we'll have a quick nosy at what else you get. So although I've opened the box, I've not punched anything out yet. There's not a huge amount of things to punch out. So every player gets one of these little booklets, so it gives everybody a turn summary. It goes through what the locations in Florence do. So as I said, depending on where you go in the levels of hell, you'll be able to choose one of the two sort of associated coloured actions in Florence. End game and final scoring is laid out there, so that'll explain how you score bits that you've done during the game. And then you've got the fraud cards. So the fraud cards are the ones where you will collect through the game, you'll get an instant benefit, then you'll tuck them in the side of your board, and then at the bottom it will show a symbol, and that symbol equates to something that you would need to get from the marketplace. And if you've got that on your home board at the end of the game, as I said earlier, you'll score that card. And each of the cards, as far as I'm aware, have 2 separate end game scoring conditions, and you can choose to score either depending on which one obviously is going to score you the most points. So those are quite nice. Each player gets one of those, so that just helps with like referring back to the rule book, because we find as a group with a lot of games you're playing, especially when you're playing them the first few times, you're constantly sort of not fighting over, but you're trying to get to the rule book to see what you can do on your turn, what things mean, what symbols on cards or the boards or your board mean. So having those individual things, I think, with the game is really, really good. So these things here are the bits that go out onto the Florence section, and then these bits here at the top, as we're looking at it, these are the individual player tower pieces. So you'll build up to 4 levels on your own board, and then you've got different sort of half scrolls, and obviously you've got some nice artwork on the back of these as well. So it is a nice looking game. They're starting to fall out as I sort of manhandle those, so we'll just put those over there for a second. These are some more of those Florence areas, and again the other 2 player of their tower pieces, and some more of those half parchments. So in the other versions of this that you can get, there were a lot of upgrades that made this a very sort of blingy game, and it did look good. I looked at it at the time of it being live on GameFound, but I decided not to back it at that point. I'd got 1 or 2 others that I was backing and thought, oh, I'll leave this, and then as it went on and more gameplay was released and the rules were finalised and things, it was one of those where the Players Manager had closed, and I thought, well, I'm just going to have to try and jump in on it at a later time. So again, what we'll do with the board, we'll come back to that because we're going to open that out more to show you what that is. So we've got a lot of baggies here. We've got some cards, and we've got some different tokens and bits and pieces. We've got a few more little punch boards to get out of the box. So we've just got a few extra little bits and pieces here. That's one of the standees. That just needs a little bit of glue to get that to go down again, but I have actually, that's just where it's punched, so it's not too bad. That's not going to affect that, but these have now been replaced by me buying those miniatures. But as you can see here, these are the standees that you would get, and then with one of the monsters, which is Medusa, you also get these petrified tokens, so you can move Medusa or these monsters. If you play a certain action, you can move them around in the lower levels of hell, and if you move it next to a soul that is trying to traverse through the levels, you can petrify that soul and it's removed from the board. So if you think, oh, so one of your opponents wants to do that particular action on their next turn, you could sort of mess up their plans a little bit by doing things like that. And then we've got some coin markers there, so back and front. And then these are your own sort of player house boards. So again, you've got that nice artwork on the back. I think they're sort of colour agnostic. They're not, you know, sort of tied to any particular player colour, so it doesn't really matter which board you give to a player by the look of things. But everybody gets one of these, and this is where you build up your tower. This is where you're going to put some of your bits and pieces that you've got from the market, so the different colours and resources will go on here just to show, and also they can go on these areas as well on the towers, I believe. So that's your internal board, box. So as you can see, there's no official type of insert. You did get it with the ones on the campaign. Some of them got a specific tray where you could store all of the meeples and things in, but obviously this is just the retail version, so you're not going to get that. But we'll see whether or not the miniatures go in there. And what we'll do very quickly, we'll just show you what those miniatures are. So we've got these, so what I'll do is just take that off in case there's a glare from the plastic. So you've got a set of miniatures there for the game, and these will just you'll use 2 of these. On your first game it tells you to use Medusa and one of the others, but as you start to play more games, then obviously you'll just probably pick them at random, and you'll go through and you'll have 2 of these out on the board. So it doesn't look as though that's going to fit into that box awfully well. We might just be able to squeeze that in. Yes, it does, just. So we'll quickly just check and see if the lid goes on while we're here. So yeah, I think that's going to go on with a little bit of jiggery pokery, as they say. We'll get that in, but failing that, you're just going to have to take that in as a separate item. But it certainly won't go in the actual box, but it might be okay to put that in as it is, like that. So those miniatures, we'll come back and have another sort of more detailed look at those, but I just wanted to see whether they would go in. And then you're going to get bags of meeples. So these are some of your individual player meeples and guests. So you can get guests that come to visit your tower and your sort of player board, and when you do that particular action, you're going to get some benefits from having them there, but you can also send them back up into Florence. So this is the Dante meeple, and some sort of coloured cubes that will just go out onto your the main board to indicate where certain things are, and maybe things like your victory points. So here you can see, hopefully you've got those different coloured skulls, so each player gets a certain amount of those and they will go on that track or tracks that I showed you earlier. But you have to do certain actions to be able to put one of these out onto a particular coloured track, and then as you take further actions you'll move up the track with these skulls and you can get to the end. And as I say, once you reach that end you get to put a disc at the end there, and that will score you extra victory points at the end of the game. Again, you've got little sort of wooden scroll tokens, because you get those as you go along during the game as well. These are the souls, I believe, that are going to sort of go through the levels of hell. So you've got some there, and got some more here. So these are all different colours, and as I say, there's different colours out on each level. So each level is a different colour, and then obviously those souls, as they traverse down, they'll do certain actions. Another bag with some more in there. So these are nice. The souls are actually hollowed out as well, so you can we'll get one of these out of the bag actually, and hopefully you can see what I mean. So hopefully there you can see that there is a little, hopefully you can see through that, and it's showing the white of my shirt, that the centre of the meeple is actually been sort of cut away, and they're all made like that, so but they've all got different sort of cutaways on, so that's quite a nice little touch. Then you've got what looks like some barrels. We've got some little flame and different tokens here. Not sure what all these do yet. Not had a read through of the rules. Then you've got your little discs which will go out onto the board, different coloured discs. You'll put these out into certain areas of the board just to sort of mark where you are and points and that sort of thing. I think you also get like a little boat miniature somewhere in here. Each person has a little boat that will go down the river Styx, and you sort of traverse down there if you need to take things like loans and such like. So I haven't come across that particular thing yet, but we'll try and find out in due course, as it were. We'll have a look through. So before we get on to the rule book and the actual playing board, let's have another quick look at these miniatures. So I've taken these out and given them a undercoat of matte white, just so that I can use Army Painter speed paints, because those speed paints also self-shade when you're painting, so it saves a lot of time on doing the shading work. And yeah, the Army Painter paints are very good for things like that, and a very good time device for getting things onto the table quickly. So Cerberus there, the three-headed dog, also very similar to the dog in Harry Potter. And you've got what looks like the Minotaur. Then you've got Medusa and a already petrified person. So we'll paint those up. Certainly that figure will be painted as stone, and then we'll try and do a little bit of justice to some of these. There's a lot of snakes and things going on here, but obviously you are in hell, so you're going to get certain iconography in the game and things like that. So yeah, those are the very nice figures that I picked up. We've got a deck of cards here, so these are the fraud cards. Let's see if we can actually get this open, and we'll show you one or two of these. So as you can see there, there's different sort of house cards, and then these fraud cards, as I said, basically you've got different, again, iconography on there, and then those areas. So on this side of the card here, these are the things that, as far as I'm aware, you're going to score initially, and then on the other side of the card is what you're going to score at the end game if you've got a specific resource to hand, sort of marked on your board. And then we've got some other cards here. So yeah, these are quite nice. I will be sleeving these. I tend to sleeve most of the cards that I get with games, just to keep them nice and clean and stuff, especially if I'm going to sort of keep the game for any length of time. I'll certainly be sleeving those just to make sure that they are nice and clean all the time. So what we'll do is we'll move this. I'll just slide these out of the way. So this board, as I say, is quite the size, so we'll just try and get this unravelled without trying to do too much damage to it. So we'll show you the 3 and 4 side. So as you can see, it's quite a size of board. So that's just the top, and then you've got the centre section, and at the bottom there you can see what I was on about with those other tracks where you're going to put your skulls. Those are these pieces down here. So these tracks, you'll move skulls along, and at the end you'll get those where your skull is. It'll give you a certain amount of points, and then it will be multiplied by where the end token is. So you can score quite big points by doing certain things along those tracks, but yeah, you won't be able to do all of them, because as you're moving along and people are moving Dante through this track, so depending on where, again, where you start on the board because of player count. So Dante will start here if you've got a maximum player count of 4, 3, and then obviously he will traverse down here, down to the bottom, as you can see here, and then the first person to get him down here will also score 2 victory points, but obviously that triggers the end of the game. So you've got all of the levels of hell here. So as you see, when you bring the souls from the graveyard, they will go onto this first level, and then you will take turns and you'll be moving people, either putting new ones out here, or you'll be moving them across here. Once you get to this point here, this is where you need to have one of your coloured discs on these circles here, and if you haven't, you can't move souls from any of these levels to these bottom levels here. So as I said, you could have somebody here, and if there are others down here, if you had a disc here and it was a yellow, you could move that down onto this yellow track by moving them all the way through. But if you're not got your disc already onto here, when you move anybody, they would have to stop before here, and you can't do any other actions below this until you can move somebody after putting your coloured disc onto this particular level. You do that by taking a specific action up in Florence, I believe. So this is where the Florence cards go, and then obviously depending on what actions, and these symbols here are reflected on here. So if you land on a space with this sort of building symbol, by having a soul on here or on there, for instance, or on here, then you would take one of these two actions as your second main action of your turn. And the same with these keys, the compass and the goat. So as I say, there's going to be little miniature sort of cards stroke boards here, and this is where things like the market will sit, This is where the guests will be available and sit up here as well, and you're going to have different areas where you can do those actions, and depending on what action you want to take, you've got to be able to move a soul either into the top level or further down into one of the other levels of hell to be able to do the corresponding action as the second part of your turn. So it's one of those sort of you've got to manage your resources, but you've also got to manage your actions to make sure that either somebody else is hopefully setting you up to do something, or you're setting yourself up to do something. But when you bring souls out on here, they're not necessarily yours. They are for anybody to move. So you could have something planned, and then the person in front of you goes, well, I'm actually moving this particular soul and I'm going to take them down to an action, and then you won't be able to do that on your turn, so you've got to rethink or do something else, or you've got to start over again and try and bring somebody else out. So as I say, you've got a 1 and 2 player side, and then you've got, this is the 3-4 player side. So yeah, it's a nice nice sort of looking board. As I say, there's a neoprene mat for this, which I might pick up at some time. Just depends how, when we play it, what the group thinks of it, to see whether it's worth another investment. I do like the neoprene mats because it just sort of saves wear and tear on boards. But you can play on this quite easily, and it's a nice board. It's nice and chunky and well made. But yeah, so you can see here, you know, it's still going before I'm sort of like laying it down on the table here. So yeah, nice big piece of sort of table presence, and will look good once you've got the meeples, and certainly with the miniatures and things. I thought the miniatures would look nicer than potentially the standees, the cardboard standees, but they're quite adequate if you didn't want to buy, or the miniatures weren't available. So lastly, let's have a quick look through the rule book. What we'll probably do to just make sure that this looks a bit better, we'll stick it on the white table so you can see a bit better than just having it with the board in the background. So you get a bit of blurb about obviously the game itself. It gives you what all the bits and pieces you should look for in the game, what you've got to just check off and make sure that you've got all of these bits. Then obviously you've got your obligatory game setup pages. So this looks quite well laid out, and I do like these where they sort of like number the things and say, right, do this, do this, do this, follow this sequence, and then get to the end point where this is how the board is set out, and then it will tell you how to play. But obviously you've got your own board as well, but that's quite easy. That's not as nowhere near as big. Obviously we showed you those earlier. The sort of main player boards are only so big, so not even sort of A5 really. So this is all you get. This is all you've got to manage and put bits and pieces on. So this is where your actual own meeples will sit. This is where your tower goes, and then obviously you'll put your resources and things out there. Just got one other thing to show you in a bit, the cards for the monsters, so we'll get those out in a moment. But we'll continue just having a quick flick through the rule book while we're here. So as I say, there's more things there with the game board, so it just tells you what the things are. So you've got your sin track, which is that bit at the bottom where the skulls go. You've got Florence, you've got Hell, Dante's Path, the graveyard, the infamy track, the lone track, which is obviously, as I say, where your boats go. So that's the river Styx, and you can move up and down there and get money, but you will lose points as you do that. And also, depending on where your boat is at the end of the game, you will lose even more points as well. So you'll lose each time you go down. You'll lose more and more points, and depending, as I say, where it is at the end of the game, because I'm not sure if there's any way of repaying those loans. I think once you take them, that's it. So just be careful when you start taking loans. It's going to cost you heavy on victory points. Then obviously you've got a general concept section, which will sort of outline bits and pieces of how the things work in the game, so like your infamy points, playing the fraud cards, the river, which is that lone track, family members, Florence, sinners and souls, because you can accuse people in the game as well, but that obviously comes with sort of consequences and things as well. Then you've got your overview, and then it tells you about the different phases. So you've got the hell phase, which is where you sort of bring into hell new souls or move souls that are already there. Then you've got the Florence phase, and that's a bit more, because that tells you what those cards do. So that will mean you'll get to do one of the two actions depending where your soul has landed when you've moved them. So again, more on the Florence phase here, so that is quite a big part of the game. Then you've got the end game, so this will just run you through and give you all of that information about what is going to happen at the end of the game and how you're going to score points. Then obviously you've got things like variants, so you've got those barrels and bits and pieces, diplomatic crisis. So these are variants that you can play of the game, but obviously when you're first starting out, just play the standard game mode, and it will just sort of be enough for you to get those sorts of ideas of how the game plays for you. And then obviously it shows you how to play solo, which I'm hopefully going to set up and have a game of in the not too distant future after I've finished recording and sort of posting this video. So yeah, you've got these solo bits and pieces here, so you've got different levels, easy, medium and hard, and then it also tells you about the guardians. So you've got you have one red and one black guardian each game, so it just depends on how you're going to be playing, and also it will these do certain different things, so they've got certain abilities. So like I said, Medusa has that ability where as in all good stories like Clash of the Titans, she will freeze and turn to stone the people. She will do the same with obviously the souls traversing through hell. And then you've got the bit on the back that I always think is a good thing to put on or in as part of the rulebook, or have a separate thing certainly, is if you've got any iconography that's more than just 2 or 3 pieces, you put that on one of the pages, or you put in separate cards, and it just says, oh, this is what this is. If you see this symbol, that's what that means. So that's a quick look through the rulebook. So yeah, so we've got all of these different guardians. So again, you've got your Medusa. So we'll just run through who they are. Hopefully they're named in here somewhere. Let's have a quick nosy back into this rulebook. So yeah, so we've got Medusa, Antoneus and Geryon. So those are your red guardians. And then the black guardians are Minos, Cerberus and the Minotaur. So yeah, you're going to have one of each of these, and they're going to start on certain spaces on the board in certain levels of hell, and then as I say, they can be sort of moved around by players as you take your turns and certain actions. So yeah, that is a quick look through of Inferno by Red Mojo Games. So if you like the look of it, as I say, check it out on BGG and other sort of sites that you may well be aware of. And if you want to get a copy in the UK, where I'm based, as I say, it's Zartu for retail copies. As far as I'm aware, Red Mojo do not have any copies going spare in Europe from their own website. I did check with them to see if they had any sort of of their upgraded copies left over, because I would have bought one of those, but they didn't, so I just sort of kept an eye on R2, signed up to get notified, and yeah, managed to pick that up, and it came this week, within like next working day, to be honest. So yeah, I bought the game and the miniatures, and hopefully, as I say, I'll get a game in the next few weeks, and then I'll do a written review as well. But if you like the look of this, check it out. Check out their page on the GameFound site as well. And yeah, until we do another one of these, all I need to do is say a quick thank you to Embolo, who've done me a nice new t-shirt for my videos, so thank you for that. If you like or wanted to know any more about the table, this is model rail baseboards based in Southern Ireland. They make these tables, very reasonable price, about 350 euros, so a lot cheaper than a lot of games tables. This has an internal area of about 6 by 4, and as you can see, it's got quite a deep, sort of about a 4-inch recess under here. Doesn't come with a topper as such, but I bought some MDF boards and just sort of had them cut, and I've used those as my own topper, so I can have a game set up on here, and then on the top I can do things like painting. But yeah, if you like the look of the table, by all means give that a check out. And for any other sort of content and things, you can check out my channel on YouTube, The Games Kingdom. Also, I post this on my own sort of Facebook page, and then I will send this around on various sites. And yeah, until we do another one of these, it's bye for now.